Karyn, thanks so much for joining us. My first question is, what can you tell us about this week's episode of In Focus with APTN's Investigates Kenneth Jackson?
Well, I really wanted to talk to Kenneth Jackson about his piece that he'd done for Investigate Secrets of the Bay. And that particular 4-part series investigates the death of 2 Mohawk men. It was Matty Fairman and Tyler Miracle from Tyendinaga. Now, they were out in a boat fishing and they drowned. And police said that it was accidental, that the boat sunk. And, you know, the families never really believed it, but the police closed the case anyway. And so Kenneth stumbled across the story and started looking into it. And he felt that there was something there. And essentially, you know, by the end of the story, he just proves that these deaths could not have happened the way the police said they could. I didn't just want to rehash the series that he did, although we do some of that. What I really wanted to talk to him about was what happened behind the scenes. You know, the stuff that, as we say, the tape that gets left on the cutting room floor. You know, Kenneth went out at one point and he took the boat back on the water, loaded it up with sandbags and a lot of weight, and tried to recreate the accident the way the police said it happened. And I was just wondering, how did you even think to do that? I wondered why he believed the families in the first place. And, you know, like a lot of times it's really hard to accept a death. So what was it about this, you know, these 2 men's deaths that to him seemed that there was something more to it? I also just want to talk to him about the way he built trust with the families and how the families reacted to all of this. You know, there's a point where he asked the families to sort of wire themselves when they were talking to police so he could hear those conversations. And when the coroner went down to talk to the families, they absolutely would not talk to the coroner unless Kenneth was there with cameras rolling. And that's something that just almost never happens. So these are the things that you don't see in the stories. It's the story behind the story. And when I was interviewing him, I was thinking of all the families out there with missing and murdered relatives who are told the deaths are accidental and don't believe them. And I really thought that kind of conversation could be helpful for them to understand what an investigative reporter does when they try to reopen a case themselves. Because Kenneth worked on this for 2 years, and he and I talked for about 45 minutes.
Wow, no, definitely lots of interesting info to talk about there. There has also been, Karyn, more development on this case since part 4 aired a couple of weeks ago. What happened there?
That's right. Well, now the coroner agrees with Kenneth that the deaths could not have happened the way the police said that they did. And the OPP commissioner has asked Toronto Police to reopen the investigation. And Kenneth just told me this morning that the Toronto Police Homicide Unit is now looking into the case.
Wow. And what's next for this case moving forward?
Well, the question is, if it wasn't an accident, then what happened, right? And so while the police are taking a look into that, Kenneth is going to keep with the families and find them answers. He's going to stay on the case. We heard a clip off the top where he said he thinks he's very close to finding out what happened. He does think it's foul play, but he's just a fact or 2 away from proving it. So he's going to stay on it.
Finally, Karyn, how can people tune into the In Focus podcast and hear more?
Well, you can find it on the APTN website, or you can listen on Spotify, or do what I do. I always listen on iTunes. That's my favorite spot. It's up there now, so as soon as the show's over, people can go and take a listen.
That's great to hear. Karyn, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Thanks, Karyn.